50 seconds.
Yeah,
I'm just
I'm stretching.
We want your input.
The three options there.
45 seconds.
One of them we just got.
My phone always runs it.
That's where they're gonna go.
Get things going wrong in my throat.
Oh,
It's from being sick.
I'm only down. I know, yeah.
we live on 12th Avenue Bridge, the old Bull Bridge.
This is the chair.
And even Maine.
Braden, right?
Yep. You're limiting when you're up.
Yeah. And
Told him you were saving all the tough questions for him.
Oh, I'm ready.
You don't have quite the hair that Dunkelman does.
No. It's been some
You got a
time.
much more
Yeah, but
pretty
you
beard
got a
though.
Yeah,
Really
that's-
robust, good looking beard.
Robust, does
Mustaches
anybody
are
ever?
cooler, just you know.
I like that. I like that.
It's not as robust.
Just for the records.
All right.
That's pretty robust too.
Oh, okay. Call to order the November monthly meeting of the Fargo Park District. Moving on to letter B, approval of the order of the agenda. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
so approved.
Second.
It's been moved by Don and seconded by Vicky to approve the order of the agenda as presented. I guess I could have checked with you, Susan, and see if there's anything that need to be changed.
Nope, no changes.
Perfect. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Braden, please pull the board.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I just want to comment on M, the policies and the work that was done and put into changing those or adapting them. I think it was a lot of thoughtfulness from staff and from directors and a lot of feedback back and forth. And I just think that's how it should work. And it just went really well. And there was a lot of, why are we doing this? Should we do this? Does this make sense? Who should we include? And I just love the steps we're taking to move towards a more thorough process and just really getting the back and forth feedback so everybody's comfortable. So thank you.
Yeah, there was a committee that it started with, very robust committee.
Yep.
The force?
The force, yes.
Any other discussion? Braden, please pull the board.
Commissioner Rosted,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan,
Aye.
Commissioner Deutsch.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to the regular agenda, number 1, recognition of the audience, public comments. Is there anybody in the audience tonight that wishes to address the board in any way whatsoever?
Looks like a home team is out there.
It does, but I thought maybe Tony would have something he wanted to say, no? Okay. Moving on to number 2, the director's report. Susan.
Good evening, commissioners. I just have a few updates. It's kind of a holiday themed update tonight. So just a reminder that on Tuesday, November 1st, is the Broadway Square tree lighting. And I know the mayor will be speaking, President Deutsch and myself. And that event starts at 5:30, so hopefully you all can attend. And then on Saturday, December 2nd, is the Excel Holiday Lights Parade and Winterfest. And the Park District will once again be participating in that event. We'll have a float, a modified float that we'll have available. So we're excited about that too. So again, hopefully you're able to attend and throw out some candy and just celebrate the holiday season. Valley Senior Services is once again doing their Secret Santa. They'll have the tags, they are available, that lists the different wish lists for their individuals. You can pick up those at the depot, and we are asking, or they are asking, that you have all of the gifts purchased and delivered back to the depot or Valley Senior Services by December 1st. Continuing on, Santa's Village at Rowe Farm. That starts on November 25th and runs through Sunday, December 17th. And I know our events team is working very hard in preparing and getting that ready, and we have great participation every year. So excited about that. And then I just wanted to just give a quick update on the strategic plan and the surveys. So the internal stakeholder survey went live last week, and that is mainly targeting staff, board members. We've had pretty good responses so far. That will be open and available until November 22nd. And then yesterday, we posted the survey for our external stakeholders. That was on our website. And today, we did more of the social push for that. So we promoted the survey on Facebook, some Instagram stories, LinkedIn and Twitter. And then on Thursday, the 16th, we'll be doing a blast out to people in our database. So an email blast from program participants, our golf team, and then we also have a stakeholder list that we've put together. So that information will be sent directly to them with that link. So hopefully we'll get some really valuable input and feedback from the community on, the questions for the external stakeholder. It's just 6 questions, and it's really looking at what are the strengths of the park districts, maybe the weaknesses, maybe changes that we can make to be more effective, looking at the future, what we can do differently in the future, and then our most critical decisions 1 to 2 years out. So I think it'll be interesting to see the feedback that we get. The external survey is open until November 29th. And our marketing communications team will do an update on the 27th, kind of that last call to make sure everyone has an opportunity to complete the survey. And then Tara and Dave and I are working with Dr. Schatz to try to find a date. We are shooting for that first week in December to set up some focus groups, to do some, I would say, more intentional dialogue with some community partners and leaders. And that is all I have for updates.
Very festive.
Yes, 'tis the season. I think the only, disappointing thing is for the tree lighting is we may not have ice. Whether it's good, bad, I guess is how you look at it, because the weather has been just so nice and so warm.
I think that's a win.
I think many of us do.
I'm not going to be complaining about the lack of ice at the tree lighting ceremony. Thank you, Susan. Any other questions or any questions for the director's report? Perfect. Moving on to number 3, the department update. IT, Amy, are you up first?
Yes.
Perfect.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm Amy Longton. I'm the IT director in the IT department. I want you to meet the team. We have myself, William, he's Lyons, he's our network administrator, and soon to be, we will have an IT technician coming on in January. A little bit of what we've been doing in the last 8 months. It's a sports center update. Our networking equipment has arrived and has been in storage, and we're waiting to put that in. We are projected to get into the building by March 1st, which would be great. The scheduling boards for the sports center and research software and hardware options have been compiled, and our digital whiteboards come in as well. Internal updates. We've updated phones from analog to IP at the depot. All the golf courses. So this will cut our phone bills in half using our voice over IP services. New equipment at Quartz Plus, VSS, and the South Shop is going to be happening right now. We have a lot of older equipment, laptops, PCs. We're in the process of updating them right now. Active Directory organizational unit structure. So this means our Active Directory kind of was not really set up in a way that was efficient and flowed with group policies and certain drive mappings and things like that. So William did a great job on doing the organizational structure of that. We have a land sweeper deployment. That was helpful for us to what land sweeper is, you may ask. That's a software that scans our network, and anything that is on our network will be picked up, and it'll give us an asset of what it is, tell us a make, a model, a year it was purchased, the computer name, an IP address, everything you can imagine, it will give us information on so we know what is on our network. Software deployments. This is another one that we can do on the background when we have Windows updates, when we kind of ended our contract with corporate technologies. This is something that we needed to deploy our Windows updates, certain software, our Adobe software, making that all universe. We found out we had a bunch of different versions of Adobe out there. And so that deployment came out and kind of put a standardized Adobe software. Increase in Windows desktop seat count. We found out that made us more compliant with our Microsoft count and various, our desktop seats. So we're compliant with our Windows licensing. IT Workroom KVMS. You might ask what that is. That's kind of like our imaging station. So we can, instead of doing one laptop, we can image 8 at a time. So we can image 8 laptops or desktops at one time. It's kind of like a IT workroom that is commonly in most places where you have an area to set up your PCs and laptops efficiently and fast. VPN routing. We found out that our VPN routing was quite not set up the way it should have in the beginning. So William is working on the VPN routing so that our south and north shops, all of our locations are communicating back to us in a way that we don't have to always be rebooting a switch or a router so that it can talk to us again. Our Windows updates, distribution, and installation, that's kind of one of the software deployments that we are going to be pushing out so that, like I said, we can do that monthly. And then group policy updates. Group policy, you may ask, is a policy in the back end that you're assigned to a group in a certain in Active Directory. And once you're part of that group, it will pull, let's say you're part of the supervisors team or supervisors group, it will give you access to certain areas on SharePoint or access to certain areas on the file server and certain things like that. So it will just do it on the back end instead of having to individually go into each one. You're just part of a group when you're hired on.
Amy, can you go back to the sports center?
Yeah.
That's going to be a pretty big job. Are you, do you have a contract with someone to do all that install, or who's pulling cable, or is it the two of you? or-
Currently, the cable's already pulled through the contractors that we had initially in the beginning of the project. We're just putting in the networking component software or the equipment. So the switches, the access points are already going to be hung by Midco. That was already in contract. So basically, we're just doing the network portion, and then the Fargo Park District. Sanford Power is doing their own network. So we'll essentially have like 3 separate networks: Fargo Parks, Sanford Power, and then the public Wi-Fi in Midco's public Wi-Fi.
So you've got it under control. You're not going to get overwhelmed.
Correct.
Hell, I didn't mean it to.
Yes. We also have, we'll have another person coming on, and we feel confident that, it's 7 data closets, that's 7 switches, it's just, if we can get in there in March, we will be ready to go in May when hopefully we move in.
I've got some ideas on some internships.
All right.
Maybe we could-
We'll be looking for an intern actually January 1st, so that'd be great.
See, on the next slide, what I heard was half the cost.
Yes, Vicky, half the cost. I've also come across quite a few things with iPads have been out there that we were paying on that we didn't really know about. They've been sitting in drawers for a couple years, and we've been paying $50 a month on a Verizon line that nobody was using. So that's kind of a project that came up this last week. And then some of our various parks and areas on the phone lines, we've been being charged from them. They haven't been in the place for a while. So it's kind of been nice to see that improvement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Comb through the fine tooth comb stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what a great idea to go through and, okay, what do we have? What do we need? What don't we need anymore? And we finally have some internal staff that can focus on that. And that's It's
Mhm.
nice. It's nice.
It's been fun. So, yeah. Staff training and support. This year, we had to implement some cybersecurity campaigns and training. That's through KnowBe4. That's been a great success to getting our users aware of different phishing emails. Is this legit? We're getting more emails of people asking, hey, is this an actual legit email? I clicked on this, and sometimes I'll make a really big scary screen for them, and they think they've been infected, but in fact, no, they get put in a clickers group, and then they have additional training. So that cybersecurity training then is usually 15 to 20 minutes, and then they're out of the clickers group. And then we send these campaigns out quarterly. So they never know when you're going to get them. Nobody does. It's just a preventative maintenance things to get people aware to not always click on emails that they don't necessarily know.
And as a graduate of the Clickers group, I can strongly say that it works very well. It works very well, the training program.
I had a head start because we used KnowBe4 for my regular job.
Yeah.
So
So it's been fun. But, we've actually had really good stats on that. So, I was really impressed with the stats, but so that's good. Digital whiteboard training, we've been implementing and training our employees at the depot and RDJ. We've held 2 training sessions on that right now. And you may ask, what are those digital whiteboards? I don't know if you went on the tour in Grand Forks when we were at the conference. The one conference room had the digital whiteboards, and I was like, "See, that is so cool!" It's basically a big. You can write on the screen and it looks like a digital whiteboard, and you can send those notes then to yourself. You can mirror and stream a different whiteboard in another location. So we have different hub rooms, and we'll have the boardroom and a conference room. So we could essentially have a meeting in 2 different rooms displaying the same information. Onboarding guidelines for IT department and new hires. We've kind of been working on just onboarding, and there's been a committee put together for our onboarding when new people come on. That's just something that is ongoing. We put the IT contact info on the lower right-hand corner of the desktop. So when you log into your desktop, you have information on how to contact the help desk, our number, and email, so it can create a ticket for your issue. Customized Fargo Park District Windows image for setting up new devices. That was something that was major when I had William come on. I wanted an image made so that I could image a machine in 20 minutes. So we're working on that, fine-tuning it to our software and specific needs that will have our policies and all of our settings that we need on there throughout the Park District. Make it look really standard and professional. What's next? Next year, I have been looking into some IT grants, which there are a lot out there, but again, it's time consuming. So I've been looking at some of the IT grants, applying for 1 or 2 of those so that we could get a couple of those in our department. Sports center setup that will be coming, hopefully we'll get in the doors in March 1st, and the addition of an IT technician. So we're really excited for that. And either that is all I have. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So AI, artificial intelligence, huge, right? I
Yes.
mean, what are there ways, or are you thinking about ways that we can incorporate that at the Park District? Are there efficiencies that we can use, or
There are some efficiencies with that for instance, for helping with writing grants, using AI to help write grants, using AI to be more efficient in sending your emails and wording and specific things like that. But, that's something that there's different softwares that we can use to utilize and have better grammatical skills and so forth with AI. But no, I have not particularly looked in it. I just,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
I was just going to ask Aaron, what do you think about AI and the Park District?
it's from everything I hear, I mean, it's like the Wild West. It's crazy how quickly it's growing and evolving and changing. And in the private sector, I know we talked about it today in our field and how we can use it to, I mean, there's automated phone calls, right? So Are we using it to interact with people and to help field questions or outbound, inbound? Are we communicating across platforms? I mean, yeah, it's interesting. So I know that's on the forefront. I think at the national conference too, I think that was kind of one of the larger topics of how this is changing and changing the labor force, to be honest, too. So are there certain roles and jobs and how does it streamline things? It's fascinating. So yeah, Jerry, are you?
Well, in higher ed, we're looking at AI for 3 primary buckets. One is content creation instead of, helping an instructor develop their content. So I don't know how that translates here, maybe developing program content. The second one is to support students as they learn, because AI can help be like a digital assistant. And then third, where it'd probably be most effective here would be just how do we improve business processes? What are the things that AI can do to help with business processes? And it's happening so fast out there. And, I think there's some, you look back over history and, when the phone came out and we didn't know what we were going to do with it. But we didn't run from it and we didn't get scared. We embraced it and figured it out. And now we use the phone all the time. So I think that we have to have the same open mind with AI. It's not going to go away. The genie's out of the bottle, and we just need to figure out, how do we incorporate that into our daily operations? So,
Yeah, it could be program registration or communication, right? If you think about it, if it's connecting to, as people are registering, then we're having communication go out instead of an individual doing it or managing that.
Yeah, first, I think we would have to get our back end and our servers updated to be able to handle some of the AI functioning. That is kind of on our 2024 budget to do that, but it's definitely something that I foresee in the future using. Just right now, I don't think we're ready for it quite yet.
The problem with it, though, as I think it's been alluded to here, is that, it's extremely powerful. And so if you don't get in front of it and come up with your strategy for utilizing it, then you're essentially condoning in some ways it being used. However, for example, you could write a 10-page paper in literally 45 seconds on a subject by simply giving it about 6 bullet points and hitting the enter button. So, so in our syllabi, we're being encouraged to spell out in there what you're allowed to use or whatever. The Hollywood strike was a result of it being used inappropriately, so they came up with parameters or whatever. So the point of the matter is that whatever it is that, however it is that we will go about using it, getting in front of it and getting a plan is probably even if it's for down the road, because like Aaron said, it can replace people, but not necessarily, it doesn't have the intelligence to make adjustments based off of experiences and stuff similar to human beings. But anyway.
Well, it very well could. Elon Musk said yesterday, soon with AI, we won't need people anymore in jobs.
And like I said, yeah, the thing about it is it's constantly evolving. But shifting gears though, Amy, I just want to thank you for everything you're doing. I don't think it's a secret to anybody that the Park District IT is an evolution like the Park District itself. And when we first got iPads and our finance director was issuing them to us, and we just sort of rolled into this stuff, and we didn't have an IT department. Then we got a support system to support our networks and stuff, but we still didn't have an IT director or anything. So it's to be expected that as you're circling the wagon, you're going to find loose ends all over the place. So I appreciate in that role now that you're in, that you're doing that and shoring up those things, because obviously technology has evolved to the point where your group is necessary and valuable. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to just echo that. I think, IT is every bit as important as heat and lights in today's world. And so we need to make sure that we're giving you the tools necessary for the Park District to be successful. This isn't Amy's wish list. This is the Park District's direction and wish list. And one more comment on AI. We also need to think about AI being used on us. And I'll just cite an example. We just finished a position search this past fall. And one of my colleagues ran the position description in the AI. And then we looked at the applicant pool. 2 of the applicants looked identical to the output that the ChatGPT gave us. So AI is going to be used against us. And I don't mean against us in a negative way, but people will potentially be using AI, and we just need to have our antennas up and be cognizant of that.
Yeah, it creates a vulnerability if you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But, who can know what's going on all the time?
Yeah.
So that's the thing that we need to watch out for.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Will.
All right, thank you.
All right, moving on to number 4, board to consider for approval of the purchase offer from Robert D. Johnson for the Robert D. Johnson Building. Susan presenting.
Yeah, so this item is asking the board to consider, approval of the RDJ building. So in your packet, the memo, I think, outlines the negotiations between the county and the Park District. And most recently, on October 16th, the Cass County Commission approved an updated offer to Fargo Parks to purchase the RDJ building for the amount of $825,000. And that offer was contingent on a building inspection report that was satisfactory to the county. On Monday, November 6th, Cass County Commission acknowledged receipt of that inspection, that building inspection, and confirmed their purchase offer. At the October Facilities Committee meeting, the Facilities Committee recommended bringing the purchase offer to the full board to consider and approve. Next steps, if the board approves this purchase amount, would be to work with the county on a purchase agreement. We would order an abstract and then work on deeding the property over to the county and then schedule the closing. So those would really be the next steps. And that timeline has not been determined yet. We haven't, we would work with the county on those next steps. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So the provisions in relation to people staying for periods of time, other groups, does those go into that offer price or into that contract, or how does that work?
So,
Or is that just-
yeah, so there has been no contract or agreement yet, but in conversation, I know throughout this process, we have communicated the desire that at least until our sports center is open, that we would like to continue to use those spaces. And I think just with the timeline of just getting the work completed, that we'll be definitely meeting, and we'll be in the new sports center before those steps. And in conversations too, we have, I reached out to all of the tenants who are currently leasing spaces in that building, just to provide an update of where we are, and that the Fargo Park District has received an offer to purchase the building, and we will continue to provide updated information to them on the timeline as we know more of what that timeline will be.
How structured are those leases with those tenants? I mean, is it pretty casual, or is it fairly formal? Or where I'm getting at too is, do we have to provide any sort of written notice, or, how
They
many-
are formal. They've
Okay.
been documents that have been signed by both parties. And yes, there is a deadline or a definition of what kind of notice they need to get.
Okay, just to make sure we're covered from kind of that.
And
that timeline is something that fits within the parameters of the sale, I guess?
I haven't looked at it recently, but it would be 90 days, 120 days, something like that. Yeah.
So I think most of the tenants there have known about this process for quite a long time. I think in speaking to them, you most likely found that to be the case.
Yep. Yeah, we have been communicating with those tenants throughout this process.
Yeah, or just make sure legally that if we are required in that contract, we want to make sure that we're honoring those agreements and those lease agreements. And so I'm assuming if maybe they're month to month, or if they're not, that would be another kind of thing, just to make sure.
They're annual, I believe.
Okay.
But again, I haven't looked at it recently, and many of them are several years old.
Okay. Yep, that would be, go ahead.
Yeah, and we have had conversations with the county as far as, when when and if this moves forward. They certainly, I think, would be open to continuing to offer some space until I think the next steps for them is they were going to do a space study and then looking at the different spaces and what they're going to need. But I think there would be time for some of those tenants if they needed to extend the leases, and they could work directly then with the
Sure.
county.
Yeah, and I suppose technically legally, those leases would come with the property anyway. That would come out in this process of sharing that information. And
So on a sale like this, are there closing costs? Like when somebody buys a house, is there closing costs involved? And how's that work?
I would anticipate there would be, my
Yes.
understanding is once the purchase agreement is put together, reviewed.
Braden, will you
signed-
pull your
Oh,
microphone?
sure.
Sorry.
Sorry,
you.
is this better? Or-
Thank you.
My understanding is that once the purchase agreement is put together, reviewed and signed by all parties, it essentially is going to go through the same process as if someone was purchasing a house. So I'm not going to guarantee it, but I would suspect there would be closing costs involved.
more than likely, probably about $2,000. Abstracting is probably going to be 300. Title, depending on how the title shouldn't be that complicated, but depending on which title company you work with, it's about $250 an hour for title work. So if it's fairly straightforward, that should be pretty
Yeah,
simple.
I think it's pretty straightforward in terms of the ownership of the building.
Yeah, so it should be,
Yeah.
call it $1,000 to $2,000 of closing costs.
And of course, we don't have any agents involved, so there won't be
Yes,
those
there's
fees.
none of those agents involved in
Looking
this.
at them
There's
right
no,
there. You're looking at them.
there's no commissions paid either.
You're not looking for a finder's fee or anything back there?
No.
Well, I appreciate the long efforts for this. We could have just gone the easy route initially and just said, oh, okay, let's not see what it's worth now. And we went through the reappraisal process and got a better number as far as understanding what it was worth and what we even put into it. And you guys have provided us a lot of information to be able to make a good decision. And I think we've done a nice job on our side, providing sound offers and being thoughtful on how much we've put into it and what it's worth and, taking care of our own taxpayer. But also, having a building that's going to be used by the county for something they can utilize it for too. So,
Yeah, and the general public, they're the ones who benefit. So it seems to me like we put due process into this proposal from both sides. Seems to me like it's a perfect time to move forward.
so thanks everyone for the long process, but I think we did it right.
Okay, if there's no other comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the process of making the purchase or the selling the RDJ building to the county. I don't think does anyone think anything else needs to go into the motion?
Probably the price, I would think we would have to,
Oh, sure. Okay, let's start over. I make a motion to approve the purchase offer of $825,000 for the RD Johnson building as presented.
second. Or maybe we need to include some languages, kind of some of these to go through the,
Approved purchase
I don't-
offer is one.
I think
Oh, sample motion, right?
or we should be fine as long as it's approving that price, assuming all the due diligence and the process and
I
the
think-
timeline and.
I think we're approving the purchase
Yeah.
offer.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the purchase offer of $825,000 for the Robert D. Johnson building. As presented, is there any discussion?
Rocker, you
Do we need
thinking
some
something?
clarification?
So Jeff had me put together a resolution that essentially outlines what your guys' motion was. I apologize. I'm not well versed in this. I wasn't sure if I need to present this to you or if you guys need to
Do
review it at
do you
all.
want
Are
to,
we,
Could
are you
we-
looking to get us to approve the resolution as presented as opposed to making a motion?
Yeah, I believe that's what Jeff wanted to, just so there's a better record.
Okay,
So
can you
I can
present
come
that
up
to
and
us?
bring
please?
that.
Yeah,
so, okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we need
we
to
can,
retract the
yeah, you
motion?
could withdraw that.
Okay. So I think you would just move to present this resolution as presented. And the details are in the resolution as Brock is nodding his head. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
So you're
let's,
gonna
see,
pull your second back and pull your motion back.
withdraw the motion.
Scratching our second and our motion? Is that?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'll go ahead with the next one here then. Um, Okay, do we want to read the whole thing, the resolution?
Yeah, if that makes for a better record, that's certainly
Okay.
fine with me.
The Park District of the City of Fargo is the owner of the real estate described as Exhibit A attached here too, which is the Robert D. Johnson Building. The Park District and Cass County have entered into discussions for the sale and purchase of the Robert D. Johnson Building. Cass County has made an offer to purchase the building for the sum of $825,000. The Park District has accepted this offer submitted by Cass County and is in agreement to convey the RDJ building to Cass County for the sum of $825,000, along with other considerations as outlined in a subsequent executed purchase agreement. Okay, so we can go on here. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. In accordance with the NDCC Section 40-49-12, it is resolved as follows: that the Park District be authorized to directed to facilitate the conveyance of the RDJ building to Cass County. The president of the Park Board, the Board of Park Commissioners, and the clerk of the board are authorized to execute any necessary documents to close the transaction, including but not limited to any required deed. And so here, there's the date, November 14th, 23. Motion made by Don Morgan and seconded by Vicky Dawson. And now
Or Aaron?
we need to do a vote for all in favor.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve this resolution as presented. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? Braden, please pull the board.
Commissioner Rosted,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan,
Aye.
Commissioner Deutsch.
Aye, motion carries. Awesome.
Can I just jump in back on the IT? I just thought of something that I think is important to talk
Oh,
about.
Amy, you're back on.
Before we adjourn, this is more of a soapbox thing, but higher ed's doing what we're calling Envision 2035. What's the world going to look like when today's first grader graduates from high school? And we came up with a number of themes, but one of the current themes is, with all the digitization going on in the world, human soft skills, human interaction stuff is critically going to be important. Don mentioned, we won't need humans to work anymore, and that might be an overstatement, but the point is, here in the Park District, we've got a void that I think is going to get huge, and we need to fill it with human stuff. And I think it's critically important for staff, for the board, for everybody to think about what is it that we can do, because the world out there is going to demand it even more as people bury their heads in digital stuff. How do we keep the human element, the soft skills, the interactions, all that stuff going? So I think we got a huge role to play for the success of our civilization going forward. So I just want to get that out there.
Well said.
Yeah, I've had several conversations with several people about the interaction of staff and the public, and how for so many of our employees who show up for a part-time job or a summer job, it's their first job. And it is our opportunity as a district to really teach those people, most of them teenagers or young adults, some really good skills on how to communicate with people. And, I just think it's an opportunity not just to have them as employees, but for us to be able to give back to them on how can you communicate with the world? What's customer service look like? How do we look people in the eye? How do we talk to people? What does good customer service look like? So yeah, you're right on the money, Jerry. We have a big opportunity, but a big task ahead as well.
And it's already well known that social skills are missing among a lot of the younger people, even those who are in college these days.
Well, and it's much more drastic, and I'm seeing it now today more than I did say 2-3 years ago. But it's much more drastic as a result of that 2 years that they lost due to COVID. Like they lost that time, and they buried their faces into those devices, laptops, computers, whatever. And so when they came back out, it was just assumed that that they were just going to pick right up where things left off. And so they're naturally attuned to go right back to those devices because that's what they knew. And I mean, yes, people skills, soft skills, emotional intelligence, those are things that are acquired through personal interaction. And when you don't get that as much, and when you didn't get that for a period of time, it's just easy to revert back to the devices. And so we're disposed in our generation to want to limit those things. But when you were born with one of those in your hand, you don't see it as the same threat because you didn't live like we did previous to them,
Yeah, well, they're saying with the mental health of young people, it's primarily the screen time and the alienation that it produces. That's the biggest problem in mental health.
Yes.
All the more need for Parks and Rec.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That was my point.
Any other points to the good of the order?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. See you in December.